Hi, I'm John Lentz, Senior Correspondent at City and State. And joining me today on City and State TV is Senator John Bonacic, the Chair of the Senate Racing, Gaming, and Wagering Committee. Thanks for being with us.
John, always a pleasure.
And we're here up in your district office where you have a casino project in the works. And I know a lot of that's out of your hands now. You legalized casino gambling, but I want to get your sense of how are the winning casino bids doing? Are they moving along as you'd like to see?
Well, first of all, the driving force for me in backing the referendum was to try to have Montreal, which is located in the county of Sullivan. They've been waiting for commercialized gaming for over 40 years. I felt like Moses. And I was pleased to see that happen. The governor had indicated that he wanted this to happen quickly. And now, you know, it's almost a year later that we're still waiting for the licenses to be issued. I would have hoped that that process could have been expedited a little faster. But having said that, with minimum sophistication of the vetting process for applicants, and it is quite complex, both for all three, the Lago up in Tyree, the Rivers in Schenectady, and Montreal in the town of Thompson in Sullivan County, we're close. So I'd be happy when those licenses are issued. My premise for marketing it strongly was that let's help the people who needed it the most. And as you know, there's a fourth in play for Tioga, Jeff Gural, and they certainly need a shot in the arm for economic vitality. But I myself have never reached into the Gaming Commission and interfered with any of their process or their timeline. All we did was confirm the members of the Gaming Commission, so we want to make sure that they get it right.
Well, and that said, did it surprise you at all that they reopened the bidding for that fourth area in the southern tier?
Well, I think it did. They were supposed to, and I assume they are an independent board, and we're going to call the shots as they see them independently. But when the governor jumped in, and he basically gave them a directive to say, hey, take a look at Tioga, in a way implying that this is something that should happen, I was a little surprised. And I'm not saying that it shouldn't happen, but there is the other side of the coin that says maybe you wanted to keep that one in your pocket because that would have allowed 4 casinos to go in the metropolitan area and Westchester where revenue could be greater. But, you know, I have no quarrel either way because I said the goal was to help upstate. Economic vitality needed the most. And when the decision was made, the state made their decisions, I always said, based on their heart and not on greed. That was a good thing. That was something I was promoting for creation of jobs and revenue for upstate. So we'll see what happens. I think from some of the comments of Mr. Law of the Gaming Commission, it looks promising that they will give it to Tioga. And Jeff Gural knows the gaming business. He's a worthy developer, and he'll do it right.
And the Lago Casino as well, that project has faced some legal hurdles.
It has.
Does that cast doubt on how well the process worked for selecting the sites?
Well, you know, there was criticism that perhaps the awarding of that site was not a good choice, that it's 50% of their market will take away from existing casinos and racinos. So there were, on its face, legitimate objections. And the environmental review that the town board did was thrown out, and they're quickly trying to get an acceptable environmental review process done before the end of the year. And the Gaming Commission has indicated that that license will issue if the environmental report is satisfactory. But then Wilmerite, the developer, will have to proceed at his own risk because there's pending litigation. And you always get nervous as an investor when there's pending litigation. And I think that project is an infusion of almost $425 million. Rivers in Schenectady is about $300 million. And what I consider the gem, the one in Montreal, they're pushing $1.3 billion.
And you had wished at one point to have not just one, maybe two or three here in the Catskills.
Well, I had advocated for that because at one time, back in the 90s, there was talk of 3 casinos, Native American, just in Sullivan County, to give people choice. But when the Gaming Commission scrutinized the best way to proceed, they wanted to make sure, and I respect their judgment, because there was quite a bit of economic analysis studying the trends of gaming that are all around us. And when I say around us, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, Jersey, Canada, and the Native Americans up north, maybe they were right in saying, we're going to have one, let's make sure it's healthy and it works. So, you know, I have no quarrel with that decision.
And we just drove up from Manhattan. It's about an hour and a half up to your district office here, and you know, in the region with that Montreal casino. Do you think that will be where most of the clientele comes from, or where do you think customers will be coming from?
Well, I think it'll become a tourism destination. I think people will be flying in from Asia because one of the dominant investors up there is tied in to the Aqueduct Casino, the family. And they have heavy gaming interest all over the world. And they're very sophisticated. I happen to think they're the best in the business and being successful in what they do. You just look at the Racino and Aqueduct, and it generates over 40% of the revenues. And we have 9 Racinos in the state. That one generates 40%, and the other 8 do 60%. So I think they're going to attract a European and an Asian crowd. And I think most of the people will come from the island, the metropolitan area, and northern New Jersey. Not only to gamble. Everything's been framed in our discussion of a casino. But this is a resort with full recreational amenities. Families can come up there and enjoy themselves and never walk into the casino. And keep in mind, in its heyday, in the 60s, Sullivan County, the Concord, Grossinger's, that was the mecca of the United States in terms of where entertainers would go to be discovered. And it's a renaissance. We're trying to recapture a lot of that tourism business. And so I'm hopeful that locally, I've identified 3 regions where I think most of them will come from here, but I think they plan on doing a lot of business with marketing in Asia and Europe.
And switching gears slightly, you recently held a hearing on online poker.
I did. Yeah.
What would you like to see happen in New York on that front?
Well, we were late getting into the commercial gaming business with the 3 casinos or the 4 casinos, the legislation that was passed for eventually having 7. And what I have found that if we're going to be in gaming as a revenue enhancer for the state, and I'm pushing the issue of morality to the side as we discuss this, I believe that what you're going to see is the millenniums, 18 to 34, their interests are to do things socially, to do things in groups, to use their technology, their smartphones, their iPads. That generation doesn't care to go visit as much mortar and brick as the older generation. So if you're in the gaming business and you're going to put substantial private sector dollars, you got to attract the millenniums. And what I have found in talking to the professionals from Jersey, from Vegas, I haven't spoken to them from Delaware, but they're the 3 states that have online gaming. It's that they do it to attract people to come into their actual casinos, but they gain revenue also for online gaming. One doesn't hurt the other. Revenues are up in both areas, laying aside the recession, generally what it's done to the gaming industry. So I just see it as a natural extension of that business if we want revenue enhancement from gaming. The other thing that I want to mention is one of the interesting things to me, the people that play online poker, 85% of them never go into the casino. They stay in their homes, more convenient. Maybe housewives would play. They're not intimidated what they see on TV. The guys with the dark glasses and the hoods, and it's scary. They think they're way over their heads, but it's something that you could get people interested in their home where it's more comfortable. So I just see it as a natural extension, and it's something, if the state wants to consider as a matter of state policy, we want to be ready to go with the legislation. And as I started to say, the National Poker Association has 40,000 members from the state of New York. Now, some of them, I'm sure, are playing illegal online poker. And there are many sites that are identified of illegal online poker. And to have proper consumer protections, to make sure that it's done right, that there'll be money to pay people that play, that is another aspect. If you're going to get into business, you're going to do it right, you're going to regulate it, you're going to monitor it, and you're going to have consumer protections.
Right. And then one last theme I wanted to touch on, the New York Racing Association.
Yes.
The state took it over a few years ago. It had some issues. Looks like they've cleaned things up. The finances are better. You recently signed on to a letter calling for the state to return control to the private sector. Why is this important?
Well, 2 things. The senators from the Saratoga region and the chambers and the people in that region are not pleased with NYRA. And I also believe that it's time for the private sector to bid on this, whether it's for-profit or not-for-profit. And if we go in that direction, we can have tighter monitoring, more regulation, in watching NYRA. I want whoever takes over to succeed, because I believe in the agricultural industry, the horse racing industry, for the jobs that it creates and the economic benefits. So I think it's time. They were supposed to go away about a year ago, and in October of this year, they're supposed to give us a report for the direction they think NYRA should be shaped for the future. We're waiting on that report. But, we've had past problems with NYRA, with bankruptcies, bailing them out, taking title to the 3 tracks the state has. So I think it's time for a change. Sometimes it's healthy to have change. And there are many people smarter than I that want the existing board removed or replaced. But in the last 12 months, they've done a respectable job bringing it into the black.
And would you want to go back to the structure it was before the state took over, or something entirely new? Do you have a sense of the ideal way this entity would be run? I'm
a believer that the private sector can always do anything better than government. So I don't want government running NYRA. I'd rather have smart, sophisticated people, knowledgeable in the horse racing industry, and having fiscal intelligence, a sense of economic vitality to keep a business going and thriving and trying to create more interest. So I prefer it private. But whether it's profit or not for profit, we'd have to see the bidding process.
And then just one last question. There have been recent reports and news about this app that people can use their smartphones to buy a lottery ticket. Some questions have been raised about that. Are you aware of the matter, and do you have any opinion?
I am a little aware of the matter. And from what I can see on its face, it's legal. It's not illegal. But again, I have concerns that when you have an app of betting and it doesn't go through the Gaming Commission, that applicant is not vetted. So we don't know whether they have financial stability. We don't know if they're suspect of fraud or corruption. And you have a whole issue of consumer protection. And if something happens on this new gaming application, and the Gaming Commission hasn't vetted the people, and we're dealing with unknowns, and things go wrong, you know who they're going to call? They're going to call the lottery. And they're going to say, help us, we won, we didn't get paid. So my concern is whether this whole business is viable, whether there's sufficient consumer protections in place. They're not vetted, but I don't think it's illegal it could be illegal, but from what I looked at, I don't think it's illegal, because if I want to buy a Powerball ticket, I can ask you to go buy it for me, and you do, and I don't see anything basically legal with that transaction, but you've made your arrangement with that convenience store to take a piece of the cut there, and that's a private contract. But so I would say to you that on its face, it doesn't look illegal, but I have other consumer protection concerns.
Senator Bonacic, thank you.
Good to be with you, John. Thank you.